And welcome to Quizzy Karting. We're here at Team Sport in Leicester for the regional finals of the BIKC 2025. So we're going to head in while I explain how the regional finals work. So the format for the BIKC regional finals works like this. There are 3 heats, each with a 4-minute qualifying followed by an 8-minute race. After the heats, your points earned during your heats decides where you are in the semi-finals, which is a 12-minute race where the top 6 move on to the final. We then move on to your final, which is a 15-minute race where the top 3 go to nationals at Warrington. But before all that, we start off with a 10-minute practice. So practice has just been completed, so Quizzy with a 38.4 on the board, 8th place overall, but as you all know, I do not go hard in the practice. I try and practice my braking points, make sure I get the corner spot on, so when we go into qualifying, fingers crossed, we can get pole. Let's go and find out as we move on to the first heat. So the start of Heat 1, and it's a rolling start at the regional finals. Coming down the straight, you cannot see that green light near the back, and we move off, go around that first corner, and luckily everybody gets through unscathed. Going up the ramp now, around the first right-hand corner, followed by the double apex corner. Trying to stay tight in and getting a good exit down the ramp, round the final corner and crossing the start-finish line where our timer starts. So coming down the ramp, completing our first lap in just a moment. Ricky with that fastest lap of the race to be expected. Quizzy currently in 8th place as we move on to lap number 2. Currently just 2 seconds behind Simon ahead and 0.3 of a second ahead of Charlie. As we come around this corner, coming down to the long straight, this used to be a banked hairpin, but is no more as Team Sport removed it earlier on in the year. Moving on up, back to the top level, coming round the double apex corner, trying to keep it to the right, and again coming down the ramp. Ricky with the fastest lap of a 37.7 as we come through, still in 8th place with Charlie right on my tail. So coming through to complete lap number 3 in a 38.7. Still struggling with the circuit, still trying to learn the braking points. Quizzy only managed to get 1 day of practicing before this regional finals. Should have done more, would have liked to have done, but of course work and family commitments make that difficult. So we carry on round up the ramp as we move on, trying to see if we can catch Simon up ahead in 7th place, trying to work this while still learning the lines on the track during the race. A bit more preparation and it might have been a bit of a different story. Also, the kart discrepancies was quite big at Leicester during the regional finals. There was one very good car which was taken out after the second heat because it was just too fast. 8 different sessions, 8 different pole sitters, 8 different drivers, and of course 8 different winners, all in the same kart. Unfortunately, the kart selection can make a big difference at the BIKC, and it showed here at Leicester. Looking at the statistics, Quizzy had 2 of the 3 worst karts for the heats, which is why it made it very difficult to move on up and keep up with the leaders. So as we move on, nothing else really happens during heat number 1. Just constantly following Simon, not managing to catch up. So we're going to skip ahead to the final lap right here. So still following Simon around on this final lap, have caught him up a fair bit, but of course the kart that I was in was one of the worst karts in the fleet, which just meant I had no chance of trying to make an overtake. Fortunately for me, of course, Simon was in the second worst kart in front of me, kart number 2, and it was a dreaded kart, which unfortunately I would get later on in the heats. So coming around the double apex, round at the left-hand corner, down the ramp and round the final corners to take the checkered flag, finishing in 8th place for heat number 1. So heat 1 just completed, qualified 7th, finished 7th in the race, just not quite dialing it in. But fingers crossed for heat number 2, we just get a bit better and hopefully Quizzy can start moving up the order. We'll move on to heat 2. So coming around the final corner for this rolling start, and again James Clare ahead of me, Quizzy qualifying in 8th place. Decide to go down the inside and unfortunately smacking into Kevin right there. Getting a little tap from behind, just lost all my momentum, allowing Carl to take up the inside and overtake Quizzy, moving me down to 9th place. Getting a smack there from Charlie, which caused me to lose all my speed, and then of course Charlie and Carl moving through, trying to go round and overtake Charlie once more, but not quite doing so. So going across the start finish line in plumb last place, but I know I'm at least faster than both of these guys in an average kart number 10 for heat number 2. Wasn't anything special, not majorly fast, but it wasn't the worst kart, it was just an average kart. So going around the hairpin bend, coming up the ramp, going out wide to get in position to overtake Cole here, who is in 9th place. And a lovely move. Coming back round the ramp, and we are now following Charlie to see if we can make up this place throughout this race. So crossing the start finish line once more, just half a second behind Charlie. I'm now zoning in on the track, getting my braking points a lot better and cornering a lot better. Charlie getting a little slide out of that hairpin and still looking for this overtake. Trying to go round the previously banked corner and almost getting a run on Charlie. Getting in position to try and go up on the inside, but he defends well by keeping the kart close to the middle of the track. We continue round and we try once more to keep right up behind Charlie as we look for that overtaking opportunity. So once more, just trying to find this opportunity to overtake Charlie. Charlie's making a few mistakes into the corners, and I'm trying to make sure that I don't sacrifice my exit speed by bumping into him on the corner. So coming down to the straight onto the hairpin, getting a much better speed around the corner, and once again looking for this overtake move. Trying to go out and in, and again Charlie just defends that middle line. So still no opportunity, but just trying to keep the pressure on and waiting and biding my time for that overtake. Once again, got a much better corner than Charlie, but unfortunately just tapping the back of his car, losing a bit of momentum and causing that gap to open up. Still trying to put that pressure on, get him to make a mistake, but fingers crossed we can make this overtake at some point with 5 laps remaining in the race. So Quizzy currently 13 seconds behind the leader as we look at the other camera angle of all the leaders going round. And eventually we have Charlie and Quizzy coming down the straight around this hairpin bend. Still trying to put that pressure on and looking for this move to move up into 8th place and gain an extra point for the semi-finals. So coming around the corner into the first hairpin, still really putting the pressure on Charlie. He's making a lot of mistakes through the corners, and we try and get this overtake done. As we come round once more to the long straight, an opportunity to make sure that I get my exit speed spot on. Charlie slides out wide there and I hit into him, and it just kills my momentum. Dropping back now, and now having to try and work this gap back up to put that pressure back on Charlie to try and get this overtake done. So moving on to lap number 8, I'm a full second behind Charlie, knowing that my time is starting to run out to make this move. So with that gap, I can concentrate on getting my exit speed and cornering correct, and I catch him up quite quickly within the lap. Down to the hairpin bend, knowing that he messes this corner up quite regularly, I get a better exit and decide that he leaves that little gap on the inside. Going for it, 50-50, not quite making it. Was that the finger to me from Charlie? Not quite sure, but looking at it, it might have been. But unfortunately, that there then just scuppered the rest of the race. Trying to get that move on the inside, wasn't quite up on the 60-40 rule there, but had to try and make a move as I was running out of time. On to the final lap then, let's see if we can get back onto the rear of Charlie on this hairpin at the end here and see if we can make a late move on the final couple of corners. Coming up the ramp then, as we come round to this corner, Quizzy's too far behind to make a move. Best thing to do is just follow Charlie round and make sure that we complete the race in 9th place for heat number 2. Taking the checker flag right at the end there. So, second heat completely finished and wasn't great. Let's be honest. Got hit off the start on the first corner, got T-boned on the 3rd corner, and basically went plumb last. Pulled myself back up to 8th place in the end, but it's about the experience, and that's what it's all about. First time at BIKC regional finals, so yeah, fingers crossed that we can get into the top 5 or even 4th would guarantee me a place in the grand final, which is what my goal is anyway. So hopefully we can get to that grand final on this final heat. We'll move on to that heat. And at the start of heat number 3, Quizzy in kart number 2, the second worst kart of the fleet. So we are off and running, and as we come around there, we can see just how much that kart discrepancy is. Coming around the corner at the same exit speed as the 2 karts in front of us, but they just pull away on the up ramp. Coming down the ramp then, coming round this final corner, trying to make up, and again, as we can see here, the karts in front just slowly pulling away. So basically got no chance in this one, so we're just going to follow around and see if people bunch up and we can make that opportunity appear, but it probably won't happen. Coming around that hairpin corner, as you can see, pulling ahead of Carl, who was in kart number 1, which unfortunately was the worst kart. So as you can see, the worst 2 karts are right at the back of heat number 3. We move on to see what we can do as we go past the start finish line. James, who started 6th and finished 6th in the 2 worst karts on the previous 2 heats, in a faster car and straight in pole and leading the race. Coming around this corner then once more, as you can see, the kart number 2 was nice and easy to turn in left, but it did not like the right hand corners. Was there any point in complaining about the car? Not really, because they weren't going to do anything about it, even though everybody was moaning that it was just generally a horrible kart to drive. So difficult with the right hand cornering. The left hand cornering though was nice, and with no acceleration, we can see there once more Charlie is just pulling away from us on the straights. So as nothing else really happens during this heat, we're going to skip ahead to the final lap of this race right now. So as we can see, Charlie is now away in the distance, 3 seconds ahead of Quizzy, and I am 15 seconds ahead of Carl. So as this is the final lap, I decided to slow down and be nice, as Carl had come plumb last in every single race. There's Carl coming around that final hairpin right now and going on the up ramp. I just take it nice and slow to allow Carl to catch me up and overtake me on the final couple of corners, just to take 9th place, so he didn't have a last place finish in every race. So waving Carl through, and we follow him through to take the checker flag in last place on this race. Doing a nice thing for Carl and making him feel better that he wasn't last on every single race. So we're going to move on to the semis. So moving on to the semi-final, Quizzy started in 9th place. Got to make up 3 places to get up to that top 6 to make the grand final and the target for tonight. Can I do it? Probably not, but we'll give it a go. So on to the semi-final, Quizzy starting in 9th place. Couldn't see the green light, so got a delayed start off the start. So that actually helped me as I managed to go round the outside and overtake Samuel, moving up into 8th place on that first hairpin bend. Coming around, making sure that I try and get a good exit out of this corner, looking for that overtaking opportunity, and just bumping into the car in front, losing a bit of momentum. As everybody come around the corner, it's quite bunched up near the rear. So Quizzy in 8th place, following Patrick in the white helmet. Coming around here, knowing that I need to make 2 more places to get up into the final of the BIKC regional final. So coming down the straight, up to this hairpin bend, a little gap behind Patrick, but we are getting a good momentum up the ramp in this slightly better kart. Coming around the double apex and looking for an overtake opportunity, not quite there. Freddie coming around with a fastest lap of 38.1, which is actually quite a slow lap. We got Kingsley up in 4th, who unfortunately is in kart number 2. Currently about 2.5 seconds ahead, but later on in the race that bad kart comes into play. Coming down the straight once more to the hairpin, and once again getting a good exit. Coming up on Patrick, as you can see, I am slowly closing him on the up ramp, looking once again for these opportunities. Going down the ramp then, and Freddie with the fastest lap of a 37.9. Still following Patrick, just half a second behind. And as we can see now, Kingsley is starting to get a little bit of pressure from behind from Alex and Anthony, who are slowly catching him in that kart number 2, which of course was the second worst kart of the fleet. Coming around the hairpin once more, and it is getting quite tight, making sure you are defensive whilst also trying to keep your lines. Patrick going for an overtake, not quite making it there, but that gives me the opportunity to get up on the inside of Patrick and overtake him for 7th place. Just making sure I defend around that corner to not let him have that opportunity of overtaking me. So we're now behind Anthony, who is in the grey suit from Manchester. Just coming round, knowing that if we can move forward together, we might have a chance of getting Kingsley up in 4th place, as we both know that he is in that worst kart. So 1 lap later, we can see that Anthony and Alex are pushing forward. Alex now putting the pressure on Kingsley by being right there. Kingsley, right before the start, knew he had the worst kart, and I just advised him to defend, as he is from Reading, and of course want him to make the grand final as well. So coming down the straight, Alex right behind Kingsley, Anthony catching the 2 up, and I've got to do the same. So as I come up the ramp, I'm trying to keep up, and Alex takes the inside line on Kingsley there, overtaking him into 4th place. Freddie with that fastest lap by 37.6, and coming around the corner, just making sure that I can try and catch up onto the back of Anthony. 6th place just ahead of me, knowing I need to make that overtake to get into the main final of the BIKC regionals. So we've come around here and we're trying to make sure that we get as close as we can, so that if Anthony makes a move on Kingsley, I could then hopefully follow him through, overtake Kingsley as well, moving myself up into that top 6 position. We continue around here for a few more laps, and we'll just watch the footage as we continue round to see if we can get that opportunity for the overtake. So coming around here at the start of lap number 8, Kingsley now starting to make mistakes as he's under pressure from Anthony, allowing Quizzy to catch up right onto the back and join this fight. All I need to do is stay as close as I can without scuppering my exits, and hopefully I can get the run up on the up ramp and into that double hairpin bend, where we can hopefully make that overtake. But of course Kingsley, Anthony both using defensive lines, staying close to the middle of the track, making it difficult for any overtaking opportunity. So as we move on, Kingsley is now starting to catch Alex and put the pressure on Alex, even in that awful kart number 2. Still keeping close up behind Anthony and still looking at being patient for this overtaking opportunity. Gets a good run up there, up on the up ramp, looking to try and squeeze onto the inside, but again, they just keep to the middle of the track there, keeping the defensive lines, which is not enabling me to find that opportunity. I know we're already halfway through the race, but just still minding my time, looking for this opportunity, and we'll just have to make one up at some point if it doesn't appear and go for that Hail Mary. So 10 laps completed, 7 more to go, and once again Alex is now starting to move away from Kingsley and out of pressure. Anthony right on the back of Kingsley, looking like he might make a move there, but again Kingsley keeping that central line through that top corner, blocking off and using the defensive manoeuvres to make sure that he cannot get past. Anthony still looking all the way around, trying to get this move, but I start noticing around here that both Kingsley and Anthony are going into that first hairpin with quite a defensive line, which is scuppering their cornering and exit speed. So I've got that in the back of my mind that that could be a place later on in the race to try and make a move, as the normal overtaking place right here constantly is blocked off by the two drivers defending through that corner. Just need to make sure that I keep on top of this. It's been a very long day. I've currently been at Team Sport for over 13 hours at this point and am pretty tired, which is not helping my racing. Of course there, Anthony looking for a line up at the inside of Kingsley. Kingsley defending it once more very well. Coming straight back down, knowing that Anthony is trying to make that move on Kingsley, I need to make sure I keep right up behind him to follow him through if need be. Again, the defensive line of the middle of the track right there, just not giving that opportunity for the overtake. So he's got 5 more laps to go. Quizzy has got a 37.8, not quite my fastest time of the day, but is not too bad, especially in this better than average kart. So once again coming down the long straight and around the hairpin, and I see that Anthony makes a mistake hitting the barrier. Hopefully I've got more momentum, so I'm getting in position for an overtake. Just looking for it right there, but just not quite getting up on the 60-40 rule. Needed a couple more meters and a tiny bit more speed. Anthony making a few mistakes, but still keeping right on the back of Kingsley. Again, Kingsley going around that corner quite slowly, and once again knowing that both Kingsley and Anthony doing the same type of cornering into that first hairpin. Knowing that we are heading towards the end of the race, knowing I've got to make that overtake at some point to try and get up into 6th place and to achieve my target of reaching the grand final. So once again, no move on the up ramp as we come round here, knowing that if I can just keep very close to the rear of Anthony, Kingsley should hopefully hold him up. As we come around to this corner, I then make that move on the inside, getting at least 80% alongside. But of course, with that move, I had to scupper my speed, and unfortunately just did not carry the speed around the corner to make that overtake stick, causing Anthony to then move off ahead, and knowing that that was basically my chance gone of reaching the grand final of the BIKC in Leicester. So we move on to these final couple of laps where we just watch out, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we can maybe move up on this final lap. But being already a second or so down, it's not looking likely. So coming around the last few corners, still trying to push and catch up on the back in case there is any kind of mix-up or mistake from Kingsley and Anthony on these final few corners. Didn't realise that Samuel was so close behind me right there. Didn't even defend, as I wasn't aware he was right there behind me. Coming around these penultimate corners then, and as we can see, taking the checkered flag, Quizzy finishing in 7th place in the semi-final, missing out on that grand final place. So that brings then to Quizzy's BIKC journey for 2025. Overall finishing in 13th place, missing out on that grand final. Of course, I enjoyed the BIKC this year up in Leicester, but of course we were there for over 13 hours. So that's why I didn't make an ending video on the day. Thought I'd just do a recap a few days later whilst editing the video. Of course, I liked how it was run, although I would have preferred it to be lightweights in the morning, medium weights in the afternoon, and heavyweights in the evening. That way rather than combining both middles and heavies together, causing you to hang around for over 10 hours for a final. It just was too long. Of course, the kart discrepancies doesn't help. It's worse in petrol karts. Of course, getting unlucky with 2 out of the 3 bad karts on the heat, and it just scuppered my time. The groupings also didn't help. Quizzy was in Group 1, where we had 7 fast drivers. Group 2 only had 2. So if I was in the other group, potentially, I would have had a good chance of making the Nationals this year. But that's the way rental karting works and how the BIKC works. You need that little bit of luck. Didn't get it this year, but hopefully, fingers crossed for next year, I can make it. So of course, make sure you hit that subscribe button, give Quizzy a follow. We've got some fantastic videos due to be coming over the next couple of months. So hopefully you'll enjoy them as we move on to 2026. So thank you. And of course, Quizzy out.